Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nate. Today, I just want to talk about the problem of upbringing in America and what we can do to fix that. To start with a quote that I'm sure everyone's heard before, we need to invest in our children. Where have we heard this? Every politician ever. I'm sure you've heard this before if you've ever watched a presidential debate, listen to any campaign speech. You know that politicians always throw in investing in our children. And why shouldn't they? After all, it's an extremely important value to have, and everyone believes it. But president after president, congressperson after congressperson, we watch as they seemingly don't understand what investing in our children really means. They either fail, they outright forget about that important value, or they really just don't understand. So now it really does just seem like it's a lip service kind of thing. Hint, it really is. It's honestly a bit of a shocker that saying that on the campaign trail wins you any points with voters after this loop plays out over and over again after each election cycle. If this is really something that both parties supposedly agree on, are we just in gridlock over what to do? I think that's unlikely. In fact, it seems like this is actually at the bottom of the priority list for all of them. Now, some candidates really do mean it, I want to be fair. They really want to invest in our children, but these are the candidates I feel safe saying that they don't really know how to do that. Oftentimes, investing to them just means redirecting more money into an education fund. Some may try to pass other measures, but these are the ones that fail due to partisanship or the majority not actually caring. Good for them for trying, though. Regardless of what is going on, one thing is clear. Our leaders, for the most part, either do not value our children or do not know what really needs to happen. In some ways, I can't entirely blame the politicians who came up in the slow-paced American political atmosphere. The way of doing things in America, as Obama recently so eloquently said when talking about rejecting Bernie Sanders, is through incremental changes. In other words, nothing too dramatic. But what happens when we face a problem that requires dramatic change? Do we just ignore it and let things crumble? Apparently, as that's what we've been doing with the increasing class problem here, the regulation on technology, and with reckoning with the quickly changing scene of the economy as automation becomes more and more prevalent. Why should anything be different regarding education? That's been the way of doing things, and those in the DC bubble either think it will be effective, are outright ignoring the problem, or are completely oblivious to the problems that exist. What's strange to me is that realizing that the problem of upbringing, not just the education system but everything that goes into a child's growing up, is one of the biggest issues that we face today, and it's something that I realized barely starting to think about the problems that our society faces. This was a simple realization having just come out of the public school system and into the world at large that seemed so glaringly obvious to me and so many others. Why is it that our politicians, who are supposed to have been thinking about these problems their entire careers, seem to draw a blank or look past this issue? Well, a lot of it has to do with a lack of financial assistance. I wrote about this recently, and I'll link that blog post down below. Some of it also has to do with the disagreements on what should be taught due to religious reasons, but I also really believe that a lot of people, once done with school, choose not to think about it anymore and move on to only addressing what they see in the adult world. This is something that we see not only in our politicians, but just in the adult world at large. Unfortunately for our children, when looking at the adult world, we often see problems that could have been rooted out at a younger age, but a lot of people don't address them that way. This leads to a disastrous loop of children growing into adults who aren't prepared to live in this world, whether that be by knowing how to solve problems, taking care of themselves, or how to interact with others. If you look at why the system is how it is now, it makes sense. When this type of education was established, it made sense to shove kids into a class and teach them basic subjects that could get them a job, but the environment has changed drastically through these 70-odd years. While getting a job is still important, it isn't the same anymore, and the 13 years of public education that are supposed to prepare us for the workforce either majorly over-prepare those who are going to go on to become unskilled workers, or for those same kids, bore them so much that they drop out, end up just lying about having a diploma, which works, and they get the same job they would have if they got the diploma. A terrible reckoning here is that a lot of those kids might have gone on to do something really cool other than work these basic labor jobs that are soon to disappear if the system had been different. On the other side, the public school system drastically under or misprepares those who wish to go on to college to get a white-collar job, start their own business, or to become an expert in a field. Either way, the system is failing in regards to the workforce. More importantly, though, in my opinion, are the things that seem to cause the largest scale issues in our society and our interaction between other societies around the world. I'm talking about critical thinking, morality, self-knowledge including personalized education, and health. Why is it that these essential human subjects, the things that make up our day-to-day lives, our interactions with others, and the decisions being made on every level, are being pushed to the wayside? Well, again, there's no financial incentive to teach these things, so they just aren't being taught. In reality, there actually is a financial incentive for these things, though. They just aren't found through first-order thinking, which seems to be the only type of logic, if any at all, that our representatives use. For instance, if we taught health in an effective way in school, our healthcare system would cost us billions less. If we taught critical thinking and morality, there wouldn't have been pointless wars that cost us trillions. If we taught self-knowledge, we'd have less dropouts that often lead to problems with crime, drug use, and violence in the streets, reducing the cost of mass incarceration. Money aside, though, the improvement that teaching these few things would bring on so many levels would be more than worth it in obvious ways to many of us, and in hindsight, to everyone. The education system isn't the only factor of upbringing, though. Additionally, the environment you grow up in and your parents are of greater consequence than what you learn in school. Ask any teacher this. They just know it to be fact. We can't always fix communities in a quick way, however, there are many things we can do and should be doing, and fixing the education system is part of it. When it comes to parents, though, most people seem to draw a blank slate. They say, what can we do to make people better parents? It's not like we can go into their homes and guide their every action. The answer lies in incentives. Oftentimes our system relies on punishment before incentives, but as basic behavioral psychology tells us, rewarding positive behavior is more effective than punishing bad behavior. How can we incentivize good parenting? While we may not be able to directly incentivize good parenting, the idea is to have a monthly cash incentive added onto a UBI in an ideal situation for parents if they attend a parenting class at the beginning of each new age group their child enters developmentally and in regards to the changing of social environments as they move to new schools and higher grades. This incentive could exist for up to 2 children, and they must attend the same age group class again if a subsequent child enters into that age group more than 2 years after the previous child. By doing this, we can almost guarantee that every parent is getting some kind of education on how to treat and raise their children. This is how we truly invest in our children, and doing this will create a positive feedback loop for the next generation of parents and children. It seems to me that the actually effective and useful ideas for fixing the education system haven't reached the national stage yet, and that's a damn shame. Hopefully we can get it there soon by continued discussion of these ideas and by pushing these ideas any opportunity we get. If we truly invest in our children by doing these things, not just throwing money at them, and not just by saying we should value them like so many politicians do, we will not only see a turnaround of our children's behavior and quality of upbringing, but of our society as a whole. It would only take one generation to make these major changes and to put our society in a better place to take on the changing world together and all of the challenges that comes with. So, I really think that fixing the education system is one of the best things we can do to change the major problems that we have in our world. So many things are caused because of not knowing how to take care of ourselves, not knowing how to interact with people, not knowing how to critically think about problems, not having personalized education so that children can grow up into a world that they actually want to be a part of and want to contribute to in their own personal way. By raising children to feel like they actually do have something of value if they're not good at taking a test and filling in bubble sheets. So these are the things that people talk about and have been talking about since I've been in school, since I feel like in elementary school I've been hearing some of these things. But for some reason, the national stage never takes notice of them and never makes those changes. So these are the things that we actually really need to do. One of the most important things that we can do, and I hope that we will begin to focus on them soon. Of course, my viewpoint is that we need to fix democracy first. I don't think anything's going to get done in this country until we fix our democracy by fixing the voting system, putting term limits on our Congress people, instituting democracy dollars, and many other great ideas that people have brought up. So once we do that, then we can start to focus on the education system, but I really do think that the education system should be our first priority after we fix the democracy and the economic turmoil that we have going on in our country right now. So let me know what you guys think. Leave comments below, any extra ideas that you think, feedback on the ideas that I've put forth here. I would love to hear from you guys. Like, subscribe. I will put a link down to my blog below, and you can check out this post that I just recently posted, as well as other things that I write about. Thanks for watching as always, and have a great one. Oh, jeez.